Krishna. Ooh, am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We are continuing to read in Renunciation Through Wisdom. We're in a whole new section. This is called Gaudia-Matha, Topics of Spiritual Science. We're more than halfway through the book. We've had a guest here for the last few days. I don't know, lots been going on, so I haven't done any reading. I'm excited to continue reading here. As I said, nothing flashy. We're just reading Srila Prabhupada's words, his essays on spirituality. So this section is called Extinguishing the Flames of Material Existence. That sounds nice. So it starts off with a verse from the CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Koti janme brahma jane ye mukti naya e kahe nama base se mukti hoya. After many millions upon millions of births, when one is complete in absolute knowledge, one still may not attain liberation. Yet this man says that one may attain it simply by the awakening of a glimpse of the holy name. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antyalila 3.194. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle, Hiranya Majumdara and Govardhana Majumdara, respectively, were big landowners of the ancient village of Kandapura at Saptagram. One of their employees, a Brahmana by birth named Gopal Chakravarti, locked the great Vaishnava saint Srila Haridas Thakur in a debate on the scriptures. The Brahmana was a sheer empirist, and the Vaishnava saint was an absolute authority on the chanting of the holy names of God, Krishna. The Brahmana asked Srila Haridas at what stage of realization liberation is attained. Citing many appropriate verses from the scriptures, Srila Haridas explained that just as fear of nocturnal creatures like thieves, ghosts, and hobgoblins evaporates at dawn's first light, so all sins and offenses are erased, and liberation is attained in the clearing stage of chanting the holy name called Namabhasa, which comes long before pure chanting. Oh, that's good. Only a liberated, highly evolved soul can utter the Lord's name purely and thus achieve the highest realization, untainted love of Godhead. The speculative philosopher Brahmana, who was very much addicted to sophism, could not fathom the saint's instructions and so ended up offending him. The foolish Brahmana tried to impose his own interpretations on the excellences of the holy name, and concluded that Srila Haridas Thakur was a mere sentimentalist. He insolently rebuked the saint in public and tried to ridicule his explanations and character. Argumentative impersonalists fail to grasp that without first properly understanding the science of the absolute truth, one cannot possibly develop firm devotion to the Supreme Lord. Hence, when a person is seen to be situated on the platform of pure devotional service, it is to be understood that his ignorance has been destroyed. We have discussed this point in some detail in the previous essay, quote, The Science of Devotion, unquote. The empirical philosophers generally put forward the idea that human life is meant for achieving perfect knowledge. To them, knowledge means the ability to discern reality from illusion. By eradicating illusion and establishing that truth and reality are non-different from Brahman, they want to merge into the existence of Brahman. This, then, is their definition of perfect knowledge, which they aspire to attain birth after birth. They declare that the highest stage of knowledge is reached when the knower, the knowledge, and the object of knowledge become one entity, which then finally merges into Brahman, attaining liberation. Lord Chaitanya has described this state of liberation as Bhava Mahagdavagni Nivarpanam, quote, extinguishing the flames of material existence, unquote. He cites many verses from the revealed scriptures proving that a pure devotee easily attains this state of liberation by chanting the holy names of God. Unfortunately, the stubborn impersonalist cannot comprehend that the final spiritual destination, beyond even the four Vedic goals, religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, is absolutely pure and transcendental love of Godhead. They mistake the devotees of the Lord for sentimentalists and consider them their philosophical opponents. Besides these out-and-out impersonalists, there's a certain group of devotees that has deviated from the path of pure devotion and fallen prey to pretension. These cheaters actually end up following the impersonalist's path of trying to merge with the Supreme Lord. Such materialistic sentimentalists are not counted among the devotees of the Lord. Like their impersonalist counterparts, they cannot understand the pure position of the Supreme Lord's name, form, qualities, pastimes, associates, or paraphernalia. Might as well say his philosophy, too. For they wrongly consider these transcendental subjects illusory. They act capriciously and confuse the mass of people. These materialistic sentimentalists reject the spiritual conclusions of Srila Rupa Goswami and try to take shelter of impersonalism. Yet they miserably lack the scholarship and discipline of the impersonalists. They divorce themselves from the impersonalist scriptural studies and philosophical discussions, regarding discussions on the scriptures as dry speculation and their ignorant sentimental outbursts as spontaneous devotional fervor. Some of these pretenders very closely follow in the impersonalist's footsteps, and so may be accepted as deranged offshoots of the impersonalist line. But they are certainly not part of the Vaishnava discipline followed by those in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami. These pretenders diligently cultivate and exhibit certain mannerisms of devotees, and so the impersonalists reject them from their fold. Thus ostracized by both impersonalists and Vaishnavas, they form a cult of demented sentimentalists. Srila Rupa Goswami declares that such pretenders create an outrage in spiritual society, as the Brahma Yamala says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidimvina Ahaikantiki Hare Bhaktir Utpatayai Vakalpate. Quote, devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and the Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. Unquote. To show mercy to such pretenders, impersonalists, empirists, and fruitive workers, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, has in the Bhagavad-Gita discussed Jnana-yoga, or yoga through knowledge. I therefore embark upon the same subject in this essay. Real knowledge means to discriminate truth and illusion. Jnana-yoga is the process by which one becomes eternally fixed on the path of transcendental devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who is the source of the Supersoul and Brahman. Jnana-yoga should never be interpreted to mean the ascending process of inquiry, the inductive method, through which one aims at only separating reality from illusion by gradually rejecting the unreal. It is impossible to attain perfect knowledge without serving the Supreme Lord, who is full with all opulences and potencies, whose bodily luster is the Brahman effulgence, and whose partial expansion is the Supersoul. The Brahmana Gopal Chakravarti believed that jnana, perfect knowledge, is far superior to devotional service of the Lord, but as recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 3.201, quote, the priest named Balarama Acharya chastised Gopala Chakravarti. Quote, you are a foolish logician, unquote, he said. What do you know about the devotional service of the Lord? Unquote. If one pretends to be a devotee of the Lord, but does not understand the difference between dry speculative knowledge and knowledge of the supreme absolute truth, then such a person's devotion borders on impersonalism and is rank with cheap sentimentalism, which is totally against the scriptural teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami. No sentimentalism. Totally against it. Okay. Therefore, Jnana Yoga is not speculation or empirical research, nor is it the sudden emotional outbursts of upstarts pretending to be devotees. By practicing genuine Jnana Yoga, even an empirical philosopher will develop a taste for hearing purely spiritual topics from the scriptures. Eventually, he will come to understand the Supreme Lord's transcendental position and potency, and ultimately he will relish the Lord's form, which is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss. He will perceive the Lord as the embodiment of all transcendental mellows, and if the pretentious non-devotee sentimentalists who like to imitate the empiricists practice genuine Jnana Yoga, then they too will gain an accurate perspective on the absolute truth. They will become firmly established in the understanding that the Supreme Lord's form is spiritual and transcendental, and they will begin to render unflinching devotional service. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 2:117, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj advises, Siddhanta bhalya chite nakara alasa, iha haite Krishna lage sudhramanasa. Quote, a sincere student should not neglect the discussion of such scriptural conclusions, considering them controversial, for such discussions strengthen the mind. Thus one's mind becomes attached to Sri Krishna. Through such discussion and inquiry, we become aware that we are jivas, individual souls, upon which our bodies and minds are temporarily and illusory impositions. The scriptures refer to the jiva, a product of the Lord's superior spiritual energy, as the kshetragya, or the knower of the field, while they refer to the temporary material body and mind as the kshetra, or the field. Just as the jiva is the kshetragya in relation to his individual body and mind, so the Lord is the kshetragya in relation to the vast universal form. As Lord Krishna informs us in the Bhagavad-Gita 13.3, Kshetragyam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Quote, O scion of Bharat, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. Unquote. Therefore the jiva and the Supreme Lord are non-different, in the sense that both are kshetragya, knowers of the field. But when we look at which kshetra each of them is knowing, the difference between the jiva and the Supreme Lord is seen to be incalculably wide. The Supreme Lord is infinite, while the jiva is infinitesimal. As consciousness, the jiva pervades his body and mind, which he has acquired due to his karma, or fruit of activities. Similarly, the Supreme Lord pervades the entire creation, his universal body with his consciousness. Though the jiva permeates his body as impersonal consciousness, he is always a person. Similarly, although in his impersonal, all-pervasive feature of the Supreme Lord saturates the cosmic manifestation with his consciousness, in his personal feature he remains eternally in Goloka Vrindavan performing pastimes. This point is substantiated in the Brahma Samhita 537, Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhutto. Quote, although residing always in his abode called Goloka, the Lord is the all-pervading Brahman, and the localized Paramatma as well. Unquote. And in the Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord himself explains the functions of the field and the knower of the field, and he says that he is present throughout the creation as the knower. The dry speculators describe the field and its knower according to their own lopsided logic. They say that the body is like a container, and that Brahman enters this container like the all-pervasive sky. Once this container is broken, that is, at the time of liberation, the jiva merges back into Brahman, symbolized by the sky. There are many loopholes in this argument. First of all, the jiva is spiritual energy, while the sky is matter. It is wrong to compare the spiritual object to a material object. This is a typical example of how the impersonal speculators waste their time trying to equate spiritual substance with mundane things. Such empirical exercises can never be termed Jnana Yoga, the path of perfect knowledge. According to the impersonalists, The infinitesimal jiva merges into the infinite Brahman at the time of liberation, but such merging does not affect the infinite in any way. Unfortunately, the impersonalists are oblivious of the tremendous damage such liberation causes to the infinitesimal living entity. Next section. Devotion resides in perfect knowledge of the Supreme. If the infinitesimal soul merges his individuality or inherent personality with the infinite being, then that individuality is rendered worthless. Those who want to commit spiritual suicide by sacrificing their individuality are a breed by themselves. Such self-destroyers are known as pure monists. On the other hand, those who desire to maintain their individuality are dualists or personalists. Once the jiva manifests his original transcendental nature, he is easily liberated from material conditioning. Yet even in such an elevated state, he does not lose his individual identity as a spirit soul. In fact, in that pure state, he engages in the eternal service of the Supreme Lord and relishes the immortal nectar of supreme bliss. For eons all over the world, research on the subject of kshetra and kshetragya has been going on. In India, the 6 philosophical schools have extensively discussed this topic. So there's a footnote here. These 6 philosophical schools and their proponents are Sakya, Kapila, atheistic, Patanjali, yoga, Patanjali, Nyaya, Gautama, this is logic, Vaisheshika, Kannada, Mimamsa, Jainmani, and Vedanta, Vyasadeva. But this discussion has merely been an exercise in logic and sophistry that has led to many different opinions among the sages. Hence, none of these schools has truly practiced Jnana-yoga, the path of perfect knowledge. Only when discussion of kshetra and kshetragya is applied in the Lord's service does the exercise become Jnana-yoga. The process of Jnana-yoga has been delineated in the Vedanta Sutra, the philosophical essence of the Vedas. The Supreme Lord Krishna accepts the authority of the Vedanta Sutra and considers the philosophical presentation proper. Up till the present day, every spiritual line, even in the impersonal school, has based its philosophical authority on the Vedanta Sutra, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural and faultless commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. This is Lord Chaitanya's opinion. Learned circles consider a disciplic line bereft of a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra to be unauthorized and useless. Sripad Shankaracharya's Vedanta commentary, entitled Shariraka Bhashya, is the main commentary of the impersonal monistic school. Among the Vaishnavas, besides Sripad Ramanuja Acharya's commentary, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana's Govinda Bhashya is the main commentary in the line of Lord Chaitanya, known as the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Those who are keen to engage in deep discussion on the esoteric conclusions of the scriptures should certainly delve into the philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra. The point to be emphasized is that a well-versed Vedanta philosopher is not a philosopher in the line of Shankaracharya, but is actually a Vaishnava spiritual preceptor, a liberated soul. According to the Vedas and the sages, the 5 gross elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Material nature is produced from a combination of false ego, ahankara, the ingredients of the material energy, mahatattva, and the cause of the mahatattva, prakriti. There are 5 knowledge-gathering senses and 5 working senses. The mind is the internal sense, the 6th knowledge-gathering sense. From taste, smell, touch, and sound are the 5 sense objects. We have already enumerated these material ingredients in our descriptions of the Sankhya philosophy by the atheist Kapila. The kshetra, or field, is the combination of the 24 ingredients mentioned above. When these 24 ingredients interact, the result is a transformation of material nature, which gives rise to the gross material body, composed of 5 gross elements, Panchamahabhuta, as a result of material desire, hate, enjoyment, lamentation, and so on. The shadow of consciousness in the form of mind and will are transformations of that field. What will soon be discussed is that the kshetragya is completely different from the kshetra, and its transformations. But to properly understand the knowledge concerning the kshetra and the kshetra gya, one must first cultivate at least 20 good qualities listed in the Bhagavad-Gita, 13:8-12. Here's the list. Quote, humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be, is ignorance. Says Krishna, unquote. Persons bereft of these qualities are not eligible to discuss spiritual topics. The false logicians mistake the above-mentioned qualities, which are meant to lead the conditioned soul to liberation, for mundane qualities acquired as a result of transformations of the mind, such as lust, anger, and hate. But factually, the above-mentioned qualities represent spiritual knowledge, even if one accepts the false logician's argument that the qualities Lord Krishna enumerates in the Gita as prerequisites for absolute knowledge are mental transformations. Still, we cannot agree that these transformations are equivalent to such qualities as lust, greed, anger, and illusion, which result from gross ignorance. One kind of mental transformation drags the soul down to depravity, whereas the other redeems the soul from doom. Both diseases and medicine are products of material nature, yet one pushes a man towards the jaws of death, while the other saves him from destruction. So one must avoid becoming the laughingstock of society by accepting the foolish theory of Yata-mat-tatapat, quote, all ways lead to the truth. Yata-mat-tatapat, all ways lead to the truth. You know, we hear this so many times, as many philosophies, as many paths, as many thoughts, that many paths, that there's a lot of different ways to the absolute truth. This is handedly rejected in this statement. And on this basis, professing that the medicine and the disease are one and the same. There's one quality among the 20 qualities Krishna lists that is especially noteworthy, and that is Mai Chananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharini, quote, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, Krishna, unquote. The other qualities are required to cleanse the consciousness. Once the mirror of the mind is purified and the blazing fire of material existence extinguished, constant and unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna begins to appear on the horizon of the heart. The great saintly spiritual master Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, quote, when will my mind become purified and detached from matter? Oh, when in that purified state will I be able to see the transcendental realm of Vrindavan, unquote. It is interesting to note that once constant and unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna blossoms in the heart of a person, the other 19 qualities automatically manifest in him, as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatiya kinchana saver gunestatra samastasuraha. Quote, all the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Unquote. By patiently collecting 10, 20, 30 rupees daily, one will someday have 1,000,000 rupees. But if one comes upon 1,000,000 rupees all at once, one does not have to endeavor separately to collect 10, 20, or 30 rupees and waste valuable time. Similarly, when one develops unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna, all the other above-mentioned qualities automatically adorn that person without extra effort. On the other hand, one who leaves aside unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna and tries to cultivate the other 19 qualities separately may temporarily receive wealth and honor, but he will be unqualified for achieving the highest goal. In the same verse of Srimad Bhagavatam mentioned above, 5.18.12, Prahlad Maharaj says, Harav abhaktasya kuto mahaguno mano ratennasati dhavato bihi. Quote, on the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept in the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must be engaged in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Some devotee was trying to tell me today that we don't have a monopoly on devotional service. But and I said, well, I was thinking. I didn't say it to him, but I was thinking that, the truth is in the details. If one is claiming that they're connected to God, but they're still doing all sorts of activities in the mode of ignorance or the mode of passion, they fall into the category of the sentimentalists, and they end up being impersonalists, as Prabhupada explains in this purport. And even those that have so-called good qualities, non-violence, they can still not be said to have no good qualities because they're still serving the whims of their mind. Just like I've been pointing out, those those that want to stop abortion, that still hold slaughterhouses and kill animals. And then those that want to save the animals, they want to have abortion. So, the sentiment and the sense gratification is served either way by either sorts of people because they have not discovered pure devotional service. They may have discovered worship of God on some level, but until you come to total pure devotional service, you can't balance, nor can you give up your sentimentality and achieve genuine spiritual bliss, nor can you give up your sense gratification because you have not achieved anything that's enjoyable beyond material energy. It is quite a subtle thing, but we shouldn't be fooled by the sentiments or the bold statements of others. One should get into the details of what is someone's philosophy. It's the only way you can be sure not to be fooled. So this section is almost over, page and a half. So it is futile to make an external show of good qualities like humility and nonviolence while disrespecting the Lord's lotus feet and denouncing the process of devotional service. Such so-called good qualities may be of some material value, but ultimately they are useless and temporary. In fact, the 19 other qualities combine to make a throne from which unalloyed devotion may rule. These qualities are various limbs of the absolute truth, and everything outside this absolute knowledge is nescience. By cultivating these limbs of knowledge, one attains self-realization. In other words, one is elevated from mundane knowledge to the kshetra or spiritual knowledge of the kshetragya. We have previously established that the word kshetragya implies both the living entity and the supreme Brahman. Sometimes material nature, or prakriti, is referred to as Brahman, the reason being that Brahman is the cause of the material nature. In one sense, a cause and its effect are identical, but Lord Krishna is the ultimate source of Brahman. The Lord impregnates Brahman in the form of material nature with the seeds of Brahman known as the jivas. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita 4.13, Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadamyaham sambhava sarvabhutanang tato bhavati bharata. Quote, the total material substance, called Brahman, is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings, O sign of Bharat. Unquote. This verse explains the famous saying, Sarvam Kalavidam Brahma, from the Upanishads, meaning everything is Brahman. In other words, the Supreme Brahman, Lord Krishna, is identical with both the Jivas and Prakriti, in that they are all Brahman. Thus, in one sense, the Vaishnavas are pure monists. Previously, we deliberated upon another verse in the Bhagavad-Gita 9.10. Maya dyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hitunane nikunteya jagadviparivartate. Quote, this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. The Gita verse under discussion, 413, gives us a clearer understanding of the other verse, 9:10. Should I keep going? I think I'll stop there. I'm doing shorter readings. So next time, this section will be the mind is purified of its attachments to matter. Haribol. So thanks for tuning in. I guess until next time, keep chanting Hare Krishna. Haribol.